Welcome, ladies and gents. Avatar. Do you guys think, honestly, that it could be as big as the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Genuinely. Like, it's a genuine question that I have. Even those people that really love Avatar. Do you honestly think it could be as popular, as large as the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Because James Cameron does. James Cameron says that the only reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe is more popular than Avatar is that it has received more films. Now, I sort of agree, but I sort of don't. More specifically, because it's not just the quantity of films that Marvel has received. It's, and I'm no Marvel fan, I'm no Marvel or DC fan, I don't care. But what keeps those universes going is the ability of the filmmakers to transport the universe, tell a comic book story, as a superhero genre, but transplant that into another film genre. So Ant-Man, for instance, was, a bit of a heist film. There's been many instances. The Batman, like a noir detective film. At the core, obviously, they're still comic book movies, but it's not the quantity that keeps them more popular. I think it's actually its ability to move it into a different genre specifically. And I don't know if you could do that with Avatar. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, in theory, you could. Honestly, you could. You could have just a straight up war film. Cool, great, that would be fun. There's an argument to be had that we've already had that, but you get my point. You could have an exploratory film. But I do feel like James Cameron's sort of chucked all of it into one movie, which some would say that's actually beneficial. But when you've got a love story, when you've got a war film, when all these kind of things thrown into one, I don't know necessarily whether that's a similar point to what the MCU or DC does. But again, let's see the actual quote. Let's see what James Cameron has been saying. But obviously, he did a wide-ranging interview with The Hollywood Reporter, which is obviously all to promote Avatar: The Way of Water. And basically, he was asked by The Hollywood Reporter senior film editor Rebecca Keegan for his thoughts on the audience skepticism surrounding his ambitious multi-sequel plans for Avatar, particularly in light of the aforementioned lack of impression the original film made on audiences. Now, the director admitted that while he's heard the discourse, he hasn't really given it any weight, which, good for him, actually, because if you do believe in what you think, there's no point giving it any weight. Be headstrong, do what you want to do, and I guess in some instances to hell with everyone else. I think there's something to be said, something to be admired for that attitude. He says there's skepticism in the marketplaces around, did it ever make any real cultural impact? Can anybody even remember the characters' names? Said Cameron. When you have extraordinary success, you come back within the next 3 years, he explained. That's just how the industry works. You come back to the well and you build that cultural impact over time. Marvel had maybe 26 movies to build out a universe with the characters cross-pollinating. So it's an irrelevant argument, and we'll see what happens after this film. I don't think it's an irrelevant argument. Now, obviously, there is a bit of bravado and confidence in the Na'vi. That is, Cameron believes in what he believes, and that's cool. Despite his ironic belief that testosterone is a toxin, of course, we've seen that. What makes his opinion particularly noteworthy is the insight it provides into Hollywood's view on what endears a given property to fans. And this is an interesting element. So in the eyes of an ever-increasingly mechanical industry, they no longer care to craft strong stories, develop unique characters, or respond to fan sentiment. So instead, they believe that by just beating audiences over the head with a given character, the audience will eventually give in and accept the artificial narrative that they are incredibly popular, which is, a quantity over quality argument. But again, we'll kind of scroll down. My main point here is, do we think that this is right. You know, it is interesting. It says when you have extraordinary success, you come back in with the next 3 years. So that's allegedly just how the industry works. So 3 years, you come back and you mine that well, and repeatedly doing that will give you cultural impact rather than, you know, a film's given level of popularity, which I think is actually wrong anyway. I don't think that just because you're you know, moving a property into the public eye, it's necessarily going to make it as popular. And, you know, have that cultural impact. I think that is wrong. I do think that is wrong. I think that's the wrong approach to go. And if that is what they're doing, then, I mean, that is why we have such failures that has been occurring. But, you know, Avatar, as a case study, do we think it could become as popular as the MCU? I don't know. Because at its core, you know, Marvel had an overarching story with individual stories that fit into that, telling a narrative which bolstered the overarching narrative. And that's actually why Marvel Phase 4 is so shit at the moment, is that nothing is moving a story forward. There's no one core connection. You know, and Marvel Phase 4 was a mitigated disaster as a result of that. And not only that, everything is starting to look the same. So you go into the cosmic realm, the cosmic outer space world stuff, all that CGI planes look the same. You go into the multiverse, that looks the same. You now go into the quantum realm, which we've seen in Ant-Man, in Quantumania. That all looks the bloody same. And so repeated sort of visual cues smashed over the face will actually get really old really quick. There's nothing new there. There's nothing exciting there. And I think that'll get really old real quick. And likewise, when you look at Avatar, it's all very blue. And I went back and watched the first one, just to sort of refresh my memory on it all. And they've definitely increased the sort of vibrance of the colour palette for Avatar: The Way of Water. And maybe that's what they'll do, just subtly change colour palettes. Because James Cameron's not an idiot. You know, as much as he does think that testosterone is a toxin, he's not a moron. And so looking at, you know, like this, I mean, he's not going to be blinded to the fact that this is very... yeah, blends in quite a lot. But I wonder if he truly does believe that he can just smash films over our heads and that's what will make it popular. Whether that's what we're now going to see. I do think that's wrong. I don't think Avatar, unless they crack sort of transplanting the world and our point of view to that world into a different genre, I don't think they will be as popular. And you also have to have an overarching narrative. If you go back and watch the first one, the humans are actually leaving an extinct planet, basically, and they have to have an obtainium or whatever it is. So, such a dumb name. I know it's in real life, but it's still a dumb name. That's their sort of saving grace, so to speak. And I wonder, you know, what sort of overarching narrative you can do with that when you've transferred our story more specifically to the Jake character. But anyway, interesting thought for a Sunday afternoon. Let me know what you guys think down below. Cheers. Take care.